I like to start at the outside first so I can get a good feel of the neighborhood and what's going on. It looks like a quiet neighborhood. The lawns are pretty well maintained. I see a wonderful monstrosity right here across the street. That is definitely an eyesore for this investment property. So I'm here with our member and my student at Investors United, James, who just picked up this property. And one of the first things, James, that you'll want to do is to locate the owner of this property. Maybe in the public record, send a letter so you can get a phone number. And while we're here, we're going to leave a note at the front door that says, "Dear neighbor, please call me. It's kind of important." So you can get a phone call back and see if we can either acquire this property, develop it, or at least put it in the hands of a homeowner or developer to fix it up to raise the value of your property. Because once you're invested in a piece of real estate, you're invested in the neighborhood. So it pays to actually control the neighborhood or to know the people who are controlling the neighborhood to protect your investment. This particular property looks decent. I see a metal awning here that looks like it needs some painting. It's a little outdated, but you know, it is what it is. There's some ways to modernize it. And as you're doing a property inspection, you want to kind of create your wish list. You're not going to necessarily do all the improvements. It's always easy to have champagne taste on a real estate investor budget, but at least you should have a full to-do list that goes into your file so that as tenants move out and as there's a budget, you can make those improvements to maximize value. And you always have to measure those improvements by the cash flow or equity that they will create. I like the fact that you got a little driveway here. You got a carport. As I'm looking at the poured concrete here, I'm looking for things like these. Well, you tell me, guys, do you know what this is called? That's right, this is an expansion joint. So the idea is that as the concrete expands and contracts with warmth and cold, that this will provide some buffer for that expansion and contraction. If this were poured without an expansion joint, you would see things like cracks. Now, this is about a 10 by 10 pour, so you can get away with that. It might be better to have a little expansion joint. This one, same thing, 10 by 10 pour between the expansion joints, and you see some cracking. So, you know, it stands to reason. The posts look good. This is post and lintels for this little carport roof. There's the post, there's the lintel. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. I'm looking for evidence of places where water might be getting into the basement, low spots, sunken spots. I'm looking for things like this giant arborvitae, and this is actually one arborvitae, guys, that might be close to the house, and you have the risk of roots messing with the foundation. You can already see that the roots have pushed this piece of concrete up. So, you know, always be aware of trees or bushes that turn into trees that grow too close to the house. This is probably fine, and I don't think that's such a big deal that I would mess with, but things to be cognizant of. Let's see, it looks like they stick the trash out here and then wheel it out to the street. So that's fine. Anywhere that there's trash, you have the risk of rodents and infestation. Hose bib, always good to make sure that the tenant knows to disconnect the hose in winter time, because that can freeze and get in there, freeze the pipes if the hose bib isn't vacated of water. It's just an unnecessary problem that you don't need, and it won't happen if you know what to look for. Fence is a little low, but if it were around a pool, you might have a problem. There is no pool here, so that doesn't really matter. Let's see, gutter, downspout looks pretty well connected. I'm not sure where this downspout finally evacuates to. Hopefully it runs to the street. Oh, it looks like it might run right back here, right out into the lawn. You have a little sun porch. That's a really nice feature. It looks like there's some screens in the window, some vinyl siding. It always looks cheap to me, the vinyl siding. But again, it's about where you can get your value. It's nice that you have some outdoor lighting, auxiliary lighting. What else do we have here? Flagpole. Looks like a low density backyard. All the houses across the street are fenced. So this looks like some community property. I always like to know who owns the property abutting mine. Is this city property? Is it county property? Can it be developed? Is it a neighbor? And what are the opportunities and what are the risks? So just a thing to consider when you're purchasing a piece of property. It looks like we got a walnut, a mulberry. I'm always on the lookout for different types of trees. You might get a Ailanthus altissima, which is also known as stinkweed or tree of heaven or ghetto palm. it was brought over here in the 1800s from China to line roadways because it grows really fast, but it's highly invasive and really hard to get out once they're entrenched. And the roots of the stinkweed will go right under concrete, push it up, and really mess up your property. And it'll start off as a little weed and grow into a tree. Walnut looks really similar, but that is a walnut, that is not ailanthus, so that's good to see. So you got a little shed, little clothesline. These days, a lot of people are using the clotheslines to save money to dry their clothes. In the past, I pulled the clotheslines out and put in a dryer if there wasn't a washer dryer. People are going back to the earth, I guess, and it's green building. So clothesline, I could probably just leave. The little shed is not really hurting anything. The tenant is going to have to mow the lawn here. Some tenants will mind, some tenants won't. I have a habit of getting rid of grass because it doesn't really do anything. It might look nice, especially if you're trying to putt on it and do some golf. But you pay money to grow it, then you pay money to cut it, and pay money to fertilize it, so you can pay money to grow it again. So I would much rather have some bushes, some trees, some planting, less mulch if possible. But some people like that big backyard, and you just have to consider, what is the tenant really looking for? There's a property in northwest Baltimore County where I put in hardwood floors, and the prospective tenants came in and they all wanted carpet. They liked the way the carpet felt under their feet, and I thought, are you kidding me? Hardwood floors make the property worth more, they're more resilient, but again, you gotta build for your clientele. In the back here, looks like you just have the screen door that's just put in after the fact. I can see a solid door in there. Let's see, chimney. It looks like, this is a duplex, by the way, guys, and it looks like both properties share a chimney. That looks like the masonry is intact, the mortar is intact. Both chimneys from both properties have a chimney cap, so you're not getting water penetration and birds down there. The flashing down at the bottom where the roof is, that looks good. Looking at the shingle roof itself, it looks decent. If not built up, meaning that you have 3, 4, 5 layers sometimes of shingle, which you really shouldn't have that many layers. Sometimes roofers will give you a good price and then just go right over top in a cheap way, and it gets built up and heavy. But this one looks decent. It's a little thin, it's a little stained, but it doesn't look like it needs urgent attention. So I don't mind what I see here at all. I do see some weeds up by the house, and you'll want to pull those so they don't pop the trim and eventually mess up your concrete sidewalk. So what else do we have here going, guys? I guess let's go inside and see what, oh, you know what, before we do, here's the service cable. So this is about 3/4, 1 inch service cable, so that's probably a 110 service. Can you get a big air conditioner on that? Maybe, but it probably would be stressing the system. So you can tell right away before you even go inside that the electrical system hasn't been upgraded since it was built. And I see the cable here, and it all seems to be tied and secure to the property, so it's not at risk of pulling away. The sill here, the mortar is in good shape, and of course it would be because we're under the carport. But when you get to the front of the house, you'll be looking for this as well to make sure that the mortar is intact in the brick, because when it's exposed to the elements, the rain hits it, and it can chew it away over time. And these properties, the things that we own, they also own us, and it becomes more and more expensive if you don't maintain properties. There's a difference, right, between preventative maintenance and corrective maintenance. We want to do preventative maintenance because it's a lot cheaper. Handrails, if I were a fire inspector, I'd say that this wall here needs a second handrail. Would I put it in for, just off the bat? Probably not. I think it's fine. If you need the handrail, you got one here. But the fire inspector would make you put a second handrail. So be cognizant of that, and you can use some of these tips to negotiate. The porch looks decent. Everything's in place. None of the tiles are popping out. Everything seems to be painted. There's nothing really flaking, peeling. So not bad. It is, again, a little dated. Little things like this horse and carriage on the front door make the property look dated. And will you replace that? Again, you have to measure it by the clientele and what's in your budget. But let's go inside and see what's going on here. Wow, the floors look great. They're in good shape. They don't need any sanding. Nice wood floors. I see that the outlets are grounded outlets. I can feel nice cool central air conditioning The windows have been, at least these windows have been replaced windows. You got kind of a cheap pull down shade. One opportunity to make the place look, see, the tenants will do that, sorry. This is an opportunity to make the place look a little more modern. I like the blinds as opposed to curtains, because curtains might not be the style of a particular tenant. The blinds make the property look contemporary. So that is an opportunity for improvement. The wall here, this old paneling, again, this is what makes a property look dated. Remember, this is not a ski lodge. So that's an opportunity to pop it off and kind of bring the property into into the current year. I like to make sure that all of the receptacle and switch and outlet covers are matched. Again, this one makes the property look dated. If all the electrical fixtures, all the plumbing fixtures match, then it makes people feel like the property is well thought out, well put together, and people will pay for that. A lot of times they're judging by appearance rather than actual behind the walls, or in the basement, and the systems that go along with it. Helpful to have a light. I actually carry 2 flashlights as my kind of everyday carry in case one goes out. It's always good to be able to see. Sometimes you really need it. The former property owner has put this ski lodge paneling below a chair rail, I guess, to kind of make this little, oh, thank you, there you go. That's another thing, instead of carrying a flashlight, listen to your students that can just turn on the light switch. Sometimes my students are smarter than me. So yeah, this, again, it's a little dated. Will you change it to get a tenant in here? Again, it depends on your budget. Some tenants will not matter. It depends on the rent, what you're asking, and what the clientele is. Would I? Yeah, I would probably pull it out, but those are considerations that you have to make. Just as we were talking about the receptacles, if all of the lighting fixtures and plumbing fixtures match, that is the signature of a property that looks nice. That a home buyer or tenant will look at it and say, oh, this is renovated, this is well put together, it's well thought out, it looks nice. This is new, but if all the other ceiling fans in the property don't match, then it will look like a hodgepodge. So things to pay attention to. As far as the registers, your heating ducts it's helpful to have up by the ceiling, and then I should say by the floor, and the cooling ducts up by the ceiling, because the cold air falls and hot air rises. A lot of times you're just going to get the registers and ducts where they are, and that's okay. But again, just things to think about when you're talking with, say, an HVAC contractor. You might ask, where will you install the registers? So now you know. Let's check out this lovely outdated kitchen. It's certainly a period piece, isn't it, James? We've got mismatched cabinetry. The cabinetry below is metal. The cabinetry above is wood. They're different colors. That's not a bad thing. In my contemporary apartments, I'll do cherry wood below and walnut wood above, just because I think it looks cool, and people say, okay, there's been a little more effort than just buying cabinets, boom, and putting them on the wall. So this is definitely outdated. We've got a micro refrigerator, and this matters. Why do tenants move? They move because of a lack of utility. The property doesn't suit their needs. They have to keep walking upstairs. The kitchen has a small fridge. They don't have air conditioning. There's no washer and dryer, and they've got to walk to the Sudsville or wherever they do the laundry. And a lot of times the tenant is just not going to tell you. They're not going to ask the landlord for these things. They're just going to move. And then when they move, you're paying a mortgage, you got a vacant property, and you got to fill it and do improvements and so on. So little things like that can help you keep a tenant. So once a year, I'll do a general maintenance inspection. Anymore, I have my contractor do a general maintenance inspection. But starting off, you can do it yourself, and you just write down a list of things that need to be done, a list of things that could be done. And every year I'll send the tenant a list and say, hey, here are items that we discovered during our last inspection that we'll be improving or correcting. And here's another list of items that we discovered that we'd be happy to improve. So I noticed that this kitchen doesn't have a dishwasher, for example. So we might tell the tenant, if you'd like a dishwasher, we'd be happy to put that in. It'll be $75 or $100. And you might say, well, wait a second, you can't get a dishwasher purchased and installed for that. And that's true. But what we're doing is giving the tenant an opportunity to defer our costs, right? To lower the cost of improving our own property. And by paying that extra $50 or $75 or $100, the tenant is going to be inclined to stay, to reap the rewards and benefits and enjoy that investment. So those are the little things. Again, this is a video about property inspection, but also about real estate investment in general and tenant management. There's a lot of moving parts to this business, but they are finite. It can be learned, and once you do learn them, real estate can be the gift that keeps on paying, because real estate should pay for your life, but it shouldn't be your life. What else do I see in this kitchen? There is no microwave. How you're gonna have a contemporary kitchen without a microwave? And I also see there is no exhaust fan. So when you've got pots boiling right here and the place filling up with steam, it's gonna get hot, it's gonna heat up the rest of the house, it's going to smell. And I see why there's no exhaust fan. There may have been one at one time, but there's this outside deck that some homeowner put on, and now there's no exhaust fan. So I think that would be a worthy investment to put the exhaust fan. Let's go out to the deck.
What about the wall? Did you take that out?
Wall,
it's not load bearing.
So James is asking me, it's such a small kitchen and the dining room is so tiny, would we take the wall out? Absolutely, that would make it look better. You know, the kitchen could be more interactive with the rest of the space. Open floor plans are really cool these days. Everybody loves them. It makes the place feel bigger. And you just have to measure it by what is your budget and how long is it going to take for you to recuperate that investment. You know, is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 5 years? This is a working class neighborhood in Baltimore. This is, it could be a property for a small family, entry level rental. Could you do something different? Could you push into the sunroom in the back? You know, it appears that there's two. Let's take a look. You have this one with the, ooh, that's hot, with the concrete floor, and it looks like this is original. So this was a back area. This could be part of the kitchen, you know, assuming it's well insulated. We have to take a closer look at that. I do see brick all the way around, so I'm assuming it is well insulated. Up here, not too sure. That is paneling, and it's kind of ugly anyway, so it wouldn't hurt to peek behind that. If it's well insulated, you could push the kitchen back here. You could do a pantry. That kitchen is so small, you have no food storage. You really, especially not with that tiny refrigerator. So this is an opportunity, but this area will need to be temperature regulated because it is hot. It's probably it's actually a beautiful day. It's probably about 75 degrees outside. It is 90 something at least in this hot area. And I can see that not all of the windows have been replaced. This window is compromised. It's a double pane window and you've got some condensation inside. So that tells you that this window is bad. So there were some replacement windows, but not all. That's something to consider as well and measure against your budget. And I can see that this opening, you can see the brick pillar here, the column, and one over there, but this opening was closed in with more ski lodge paneling and then the window put in. And that was probably original, I would guess. But when you're looking at a space like this, you could consider expanding the window to the full width. And sometimes real estate investors buy a property, especially from an investor, they're cheap. So they'll close in an opening like this to put in a cheaper window to save money. And maybe that's okay, maybe it's not, but in all cases, it's something that you can consider using in your negotiations for price. So I can see that this fixture in the kitchen is different than the fixture in the dining room. That's what I was talking about. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge. And again, that's not a terrible thing, but it's something that tells you that this place has been lived in for a long time. It's not new, it's not really well put together, well thought out. Some of the trim is different. You know, this is one type of trim. The trim here to the basement door is different. A lot of times in the Baltimore properties, the front room has no light. This room literally has no lighting until you get to the hallway. So it's anticipated, I guess, that somebody would plug in a lamp. Now, code these days say that you need receptacles every 6 feet. You've got a receptacle here, and then 15 feet away you have another one. So there's 4 plugs. One of them is going to be occupied by a lamp, and probably another one. So now you've got 2 for all of your electronics, TV. It's probably not going to be enough. So again, something that isn't a deal killer, but you can use it to negotiate when you buy a property. Let's keep going on the first floor, just for the sake of videoing. If I were inspecting this with the seller, I would run right to the basement. That would be my first step right away. But since we're on the first floor and it's a little cumbersome to video, we'll just keep going with it. It looks like we've got a bedroom, sitting room, something on the first floor. I guess it's a bedroom. It's painted, I don't know if you can pick this up in the video, guys. It's painted lime green. You have the same ski lodge paneling on the one wall, but it's been painted over this hideous lime green cover with gingerbread. It's called gingerbread crown molding up top. It is hideous. Could it be painted over? Sure, I guess it could. The lighting fixture here, the ceiling fan, is of a different type again, so it's not matched, it's all mismatched. You have, some trim and doors are painted, and then some are, are natural wood. The closet is decent enough to hold, a modern wardrobe. A lot of times on the East Coast, you see row homes, and the closets are really narrow. Some of them are so narrow that they won't even hold a coat hanger, because when they were built, people just didn't have as many clothes as we do today. Now we like to go shopping. Bathroom, there is a fan. That's nice. So some of the fixtures, in the kitchen were brown and some were white, and now I see some tan, I see some marble. Somebody replaced the toilet seat white. I guess that's whatever they could find, or it was on sale. There's linoleum. It's scratched up a little bit. This could be tiled up. The medicine cabinet here is just really rental grade, cheap medicine cabinet with some cheap lighting fixtures above that don't match the rest of the property. So you do have a real opportunity here to do some simple improvements as far as plumbing and electrical fixtures to make the place look tied in. We want to make sure that here, where somebody would plug in a hairdryer or plug in anything near a water source, you got a GFCI, right, which is a receptacle or outlet with a breaker, and we do have that, and that will prevent anybody from getting electrocuted too much. Another opportunity in my properties, I find a cheap way of getting that wow factor is to put glass shower doors, sliding shower doors, rather than the curtain, and it also does help my property. I guess it holds the water out better. Sometimes people get in with the shower curtain, I pull it all the way, and the water gets on the floor, and then your tile is coming up, your linoleum's coming up. If it goes untended for a long time, then you've got rotten subfloors, and if it keeps going, you've got rotten joists, and then you got a problem, a costly problem that you don't want. This is a tub surround, it's cheap. I see it, you probably see it, but the tenants will overlook a lot and might be accustomed to something like that. So that is what it is. I do see some improvements. This property is rent ready, so you just have to make up, your mind. The door handles are kind of like the plumbing and electrical fixtures. This is brushed nickel. I saw right here you've got brass. That doesn't even work. There's a little mop closet, janitor closet. Maybe, I guess this couldn't be a pantry for the kitchen, it's too far away. So one bedroom there, one bedroom here on the first floor. Oh, I love the variety. This is like going through a five and dime store where you can pick out a variety of old paneling to put in your kid's clubhouse. So now we got a different type of paneling. That's what, the fourth kind that we've seen. We've seen dark brown, we've seen light brown, we've seen lime green, and we've seen white. And we've got this hardy brick. Oh no, wait, this is some more paneling. Somebody went paneling crazy in this house. So that would probably be the easiest way, guys, to make this property feel a little more contemporary and to raise the rent, just to make the walls consistent. Again, we got yet a different type of lighting fixture. Closet is big enough. They all have racks for coat hangers. Sometimes you look in the closet and you think, when you're going through a property inspection quickly, okay, it's got a closet. But then you buy the property and realize, oh, I got to spend more money putting in closet systems in all the closet because there's nowhere to hang a hanger. So again, you want to look, but you also want to see. Take your time. I'm talking a little quickly so we can get through this video, but you want to take your time. The homeowner is going to want to take you through and show you the places that they like, show you those wow factor portions of the property. If you get to the property, you meet the homeowner, out front by the sidewalk, and the homeowner says, come on in, let me show you. You should say, hold on, This is your inspection, not theirs. You take your time, you walk around and you look at what you want to see because you are the buyer, right? You are the buyer, you're in control, you have the power, you have the money. You've heard of the golden rule? She who has the gold makes the rules. If you're married, you already understand this. Receptacles, it looks like these are not grounded, not surprising. They replace some of the receptacles, not all. What is this, guys? Bonus points if you can tell me why this paneling is pulled away. James, what do you think? All right, well this is an access panel to the back of the tub because we just saw the bathrooms on the other side. So why was this cut? Well, because they either upgraded or there was some plumbing issue. Probably this house is so old that there was just a tub, maybe not a shower, so it could have been upgraded at some time, but that's what that is. And it's helpful to have some type of access for when things go wrong, and they inevitably go wrong. We have an attic, so James, why don't you follow me right on through here, and let's see it now. Before we pull that down, what's that, guys? What is that little flange?
Smoke alarm.
Yeah, a smoke alarm. So I can see that was for a battery powered smoke alarm.
Lack thereof.
If right in there is missing. If we were in Baltimore County and this were a rental, we would have to put in hard-wired smoke detectors. So check your municipal, state, and federal regulations. Those are the 3 levels to determine in your area what type of code you have to be in compliance with. In Baltimore County, if we were there, we'd have to put in, again, hardwired smoke alarms or smoke detectors, and that would be an extra expense that, knowing that, we can account for and factor for. So, oh my gosh, I feel the heat. Heat rises, right? Well, when there's so much heat, it will fall too. So I can see right up here, I'm gonna pull these stairs down. I can see that there's no insulation on the other side, underside of the roof. So, all right, let's see what's happening up here. Woo-ha! Talk about a sauna. All right. All right, have you been up here, James?
I have, yes.
All right, yes.
It's pretty hot.
Okay. So there's no insulation. See what I do for you guys, how much I love you. There's no insulation on the underside of the roof. I can see right out of the eaves. I can see light coming in. I can see outside. This insulation up here is old school insulation, and it is hot. It has got to be over 110, maybe 120 degrees up here. So I'm not going to be here too long. One of the things that you must do on this property, no question, you put in 1 or more attic fans. They can be totally passive. You've probably seen the little, let's see, it kind of looks like a bellows, kind of like a pumpkin. It's been cut open vertically on all of the little seams of the pumpkin. And what that does, it blows in the wind, and that passive wind will suck the hot air out of the roof, because this attic is costing you to run that air conditioning. And you don't need that. It's just totally unnecessary considering how inexpensive it is to put in a passive attic fan. So that is not even a question. That's something that you'll want to do. All right, let's go to the basement, see what's happening down there. So there's a little alarm, got our thermostat, decent lighting in the cellar, basement. You could call it the lower level when you go to rent it. It has a better ring to it. You got 12-inch VCT vinyl tile, which is nice to see. And it looks like you have a walkout. I don't have the key, and that's fine. It's just a little hatch there.
It goes out to the porch.
It goes out to the porch. Now you're subgrade here, guys. So one of the things that I would want to check out opening this door would be the drain. Is the French drain, I guess it's a French drain, I imagine. Hopefully there is a drain. Is it clogged? Does it drain? And it's not, James, stay with me. It's we don't have to see it, but you know what I'm talking about. And it's not wrong for you to get a cup of water, a bucket of water, and pour it in before you buy it to make sure that it drains, because once you buy that property, the seller's problems are your problems, and so you want to know those problems going in, so there's nothing unexpected. I like this little barn door. That's cute. I'm gonna pick one of those up for my my goat pen. All right, so we have no light. Oh, there it is. I got a little light back here. Washer, old furnace. The water heater looks decent. What I'm looking for is this relief valve plumbed to within, I think it's 6 or 8 inches of the ground. That's code. It's not a huge deal, but you know, if this does blow, you don't want anybody to get scalded or you want water everywhere. And that is, again, code. The bottom doesn't appear to be rusted, so that's nice. There is not a tub, so if the bottom does rust out or if it does blow, you will get water everywhere. Sometimes they'll place these in a tub. I see that the floor is concrete, and yet they've still put this VCT tile over top of it. Why? I don't know. Concrete is a perfectly fine, acceptable floor. So what I like to do in my properties is take the front half of the basement and finish it, of the lower level, remember that, and finish it, and take the back half of the lower level. I'll paint the concrete floor gray, and I'll put up some cabinets and make it a workshop, laundry room type area, again, to give the tenants some utility. Because on a lot of these properties, the lower level is a third of the entire living space. So why would you not finish it? I think that if you do have a budget for it, is really good value. I watched, it was The Apprentice, I think. It was one of the early episodes. And one of the teams took a property and got rid of 2 bedrooms and turned it into 1 big bedroom. And Trump fired the project manager on that because he said they reduced the value. And they do. You know, you don't want a bunch of tiny bedrooms, especially if there aren't adequate bathrooms to service them. But by that same token, the other side of the coin, if you can take a basement and put a bedroom there, and turn it from 3 to 4, you've just increased your appraised value. That increases the amount of money that you can borrow against the property and the utility of the property and the amount of rent that you can collect. So I do see something while we're down here that you definitely want to be aware of. 9-inch tile. Can you tell me what kind of tile that is, guys? Pop quiz. Don't give up. 9-inch tile is most likely going to be asbestos. So you've got asbestos tile here. And is it a big deal to take up? Not really. You wet it down and you scrape it up, and of course you have a hazmat, so that's going to have to be done in compliance with code and by a licensed contractor. I do see that it's starting to pull up a little bit, and asbestos is a really great insulator. It really is, which is why it was so prevalent in this country. The problem is that when it becomes friable, that is when particles of the tile or insulation become airborne, little particles flying around, you breathe them in, they'll stick in your lungs and give you potentially a really bad condition that could be fatal. So you have asbestos here, and that's a pretty big negotiating point when you're buying a property. This, I don't understand this configuration. It is a total hodgepodge. You have a closet inside of a closet, and then this is, I'm imagining it's going to be a flush, just a toilet without any sink. I don't know, maybe it's just a closet, we'll see. Okay, this a cedar closet. Somebody really went all out. Does not smell like cedar. So this is kind of worthless, I would say, guys. I would spend the money to just pull out all these walls down here. Yeah. Come back. I mean, you have the steps here, right? So you enter this landing, and I'd say back there is all utility. Up here is another bedroom and bathroom, and it looks like, yeah. So how about that, guys? You've got the washer back there and the dryer up here. Does that sound like fun to you? You wash the clothes, pull them out, they're all soaking wet in your arms, and then you walk to the other side of the house and put them in the dryer. Why? Because there wasn't enough space. So this basement is not well thought out. The good news is that it's very simple to fix. All these walls are not bearing walls, it's just paneling. So this is probably where I would put a little bit of money to improve the configuration of the property. Do you need an architect? No, a good contractor can draw it out. Will you need an architect by code? That depends on your municipality. And this is really not a big deal as far as money. What would it cost? I think this total property, if you had $25,000, could really sparkle. I think you could spend less. I think you could do 10 or 15 and really make a difference. Here's a little tiny bathroom. Your knees would be against the wall. It doesn't look like anything that that anybody would really relish using on a regular basis. And in here, it looks like the previous homeowner had done what, guys? You tell me. What are all of these little spots?
Asbestos, maybe.
I think you're right, James. It looks like the seller probably relatively recently removed all of this asbestos tile. So right away, I would point that out to the seller, and I would say, was this permitted? Oh yeah, we got a permit. I say, good, give me a copy of it. Because if you did it without a permit, then you got a problem, because you could have asbestos particles all over here. So when you come down to move these walls and take the paneling off, or just move around and occupy the space, you've got asbestos contamination down here. And that's probably what happened. That's not just a negotiating tip, guys. That's a big deal. You don't need yourself or anybody around you getting sick, and there's no reason to be that cheap. So if the owner can provide you with a permit, that's nice, but even better, verify. You can go to the county or go to the state and make sure that the permit was actually pulled. And if it wasn't, then you're going to get a bargain on the property. And just because you asked. They have a nice little bar down here, totally outdated. Pull it out. This is not as valuable as a bedroom would be. And it looks like a little gas fireplace, mismatched fixtures again. So this would probably be a good place to spend a couple bucks and get the value of an extra bedroom. It's kind of a cool mirror, James. I like that. One of the most fun things about real estate investment are all the toys, the tchotchkes, the things that are left behind, the art and antiques and firearms and the tools and things that people just leave behind. You'll collect them and they'll have stories, coins, and stamps. It's kind of neat. Little bench. This will be one of the first things we take out. All right, let's go upstairs and see what we got.
What about the sump pump? Anything you gotta worry about that?
The sump?
Yeah.
Thank you, good eye. So there is a little sump here, and they're usually going to be, at least around here, have some water in it, and you keep an eye. A great place to inspect or time to inspect the property is when it's raining. So you can check out, not that the sump is working, but is it filling? Do you have water penetration? And with the water issue, that can really be involved. It could involve digging a trench, a channel around the entire perimeter. It could involve digging down, removing soil from the exterior of the property, waterproofing the property, putting the soil back, grading soil, putting shrubs that are going to soak up the water on the outside. But I imagine that here, based on what I saw outside and the topography, that you're probably not going to have much of a water issue here. But then again, why was this tile pulled up? Is it possible that it was, that you did have water down here? Is it possible that it was just humid? Maybe this property was empty for a long time because the humidity, the tile started popping up anyway. Maybe the homeowner just wanted to hide the asbestos tile. These are all very good questions that you have to ask yourself. One of the big benefits of a rancher is that the entirety of the property, except for the basement, is accessible from the ground level outside. Except here, because if you remember, we had to walk up the stairs on the front porch to get inside. So unfortunately, you can't really market it as a rancher for that purpose. If you did have a ramp, that would be nice, because then you can cater to people with mobility disabilities, and they will pay for that benefit. In our property, because we build green, because it's the right thing to do, but also, for people's health and safety. We've got an indoor air quality management plan, so we're taping off ducts to keep drywall dust when we're sanding out of the ductwork, or if it does get in, we'll clean the ducts. So when we do market to the public for a tenant or a buyer, we'll say it's allergy-friendly property, low VOC compounds. That's a paint that doesn't off gas or smell, or hardwood instead of carpet, because the hardwood doesn't collect dust like the carpet does. So these are things that some people who are paying attention to those things will pay for, and you have to be aware of them. You might already be doing these things, but didn't even think that you could put it in your flyer, put it in your ad, and charge a fair price for them. But that's why we are Investors United. We're here not just to instruct you, we're here to partner with you and to make money and to have fun doing something that we believe in. The idea is that we educate other people who can come back and partner with us. Not all of our students do, but many of them do. And we're happy to put up the money on your deal and split the profits. That's how we all make money. And that's what we've been doing for going on, it's been 40 years. It's a family business. We've got a great group of people, a lot of business owners, a lot of military, and we'd love for you to join our family. You'll find that this is a wonderful business. If you've already been in it for some time, then you know. But real estate is a business where people regularly invest hundreds of thousands of dollars without ever taking the time to really study it. And as I said in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of moving parts. You have construction project management and real estate tax avoidance and creative financing and notes and tax sale and foreclosures and development and tax strategy, commercial property. There's a lot to it, but it can be learned. And remember that at Investors United, there are two parts. One part is academic. You're going to learn, you're going to get smart, online courses, live courses on your own time. But the other part is hands-on practice, because there's just nothing like learning on a property where you can make money. You're going to pay attention in an environment that is safe, where we're looking over your shoulder or holding your hand or even partnering with you side by side. That's what Investors United is all about. James, I'm proud of you for picking up this property. You're doing a good job, and I help you. And hopefully we can drive by with the phone here and take a picture or do a little video when you've got a tenant in here and it's producing some income. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, stay tuned. And if you have questions, call, email. We are here for you. I'm Ian Parrish. This is the Investors United channel. Thank you so much for watching.